Welcome in, everyone. We're talking college football as we typically do. We got just one big game left, and it does not involve those Clemson Tigers. We got Brian Knight on the line. You can join him on his YouTube channel, Bobby Durkins. Brian, how you doing tonight?
Mark, how is it going, man?
It's going well. It's going well. Caught
Thanks
myself a football game the other night.
I heard you did. I did too.
I did. Ohio State got the better of Clemson. It finally happened. You know, it had to happen one of these times.
Yes. You know what? It's. I was actually going to bring up the Alabama game. I really didn't come on here to talk about Clemson.
We're going to talk about the next game. Okay.
Let's just
no. I'm having you on.
No, I wasn't even going to talk about that game. I was just going to talk about the game on Friday night. And between Alabama and whoever they played, I can't remember. It was another team. But nah, man, thanks for having me on. Thanks for being a good sport and everything with us. I mean, what a disaster. I mean, you put it a nice way. I can tell you've been in media for years because you put it a nice way, very nice way. Yeah,
I've been trained for a long time.
Yeah, to be nice about it. And me, you know, I'm just one of the scoundrels you'll find here on YouTube. I'll put it in a less sophisticated way. We absolutely got castrated the other night on live national television, and there was nothing we could do about it. I mean, it was a crazy game. But hey, 6 years in a row we're there. You can't expect to win them all. And you talk mad trash up until that point, and then when that point comes to it, you just sit back and let all the horrible comments and I told you so's roll in.
You know, pretty much between you, Pigskin Pete, JP, Jason Priester, DeAndre was on here one time with you guys as well. You guys seem to all pretty much be in the same boat, confident, but not dismissing Ohio State, knowing they're extremely talented. This could go either way, but thinking we should win this game. The point spread's probably where it should be. And I think that was pretty logical, pretty reasonable to be expecting that, thinking, okay, I'm not going to be shocked if we lose, but we should win this game.
Yeah. I mean, look at the very first drive. Clemson goes, 82 yards in less than 3 minutes. You see an amazing pass from Trevor to Cornell Powell, and just pause right there. No matter who you pull for, Cornell Powell is one of the good stories in college football. Guys stuck around. You know, you've got guys opting out, and I understand. I mean, I'm not going to stone anybody for opting out of a horrible year to go make $50 million. I think anybody who does that, they're wearing the team colors, whatever it is. In case, it'd be orange-colored glasses. But, you know, this guy, he stuck around, and he was not one of the guys who was able to leave early. Nobody really knows who he is. And he came out, and he's been playing lights out all year long. And I was really happy for him. But you see that first drive, and, man, I was like, oh, my goodness. And during the games, I like to watch games by myself. My kids can be there, but everybody knows Daddy's watching TV. And I call my dad. I do that during football games. And I've talked about that before. Call my dad. He lives right outside of Clemson. It's like, my God, did you see that drive? And he's like, yes, we're all excited. And that was one of the last few really good moments of the evening. The rest of it was all Buckeyes just hammering us without stopping. You could tell they had blood in their mouth. I mean, they tasted it, and they were not stopping until it was over.
I had to remind my son after that drive. I said, if you remember the Alabama game, I believe how it's pronounced, the Alabama game in 2014 and the national championship game that year against Oregon, they went right down the field, and it was 7-0. So I said, we might be okay. Just they've had to work through that first drive issue as a defense a number of times in big games for some reason. Our guy Benet is a big Buckeyes fan. He jumps on here all the time. So he's kind of questioning your culture, I guess. Didn't like people laughing, guys laughing at the Sugar Bowl news conference after the game. I didn't see any of that. Pigskin Pete and I talked about this today because I was hit with this a number of times after the game from callers that suddenly it's just amazing where the narrative goes. You lose one big game, maybe you don't look so good. You get beat up by an elite team, and suddenly your program's just off the rails. You've seen your better days. You're not coming back. It's just amazing where people go with that.
I mean, wasn't it Nick Saban who got absolutely drugged by Utah in a Sugar Bowl?
Yep.
After he won a national championship? Wasn't it Nick Saban who got beat by a third-string quarterback with Ohio State? I mean, I don't know if it. And I even said it about Saban at that time. I went, maybe things are starting to go down because I mean, hindsight's 20/20, and we're all geniuses then. And people start retracting what they say, but I even thought that. I thought maybe that's the case with Saban, but it didn't happen. And I think with Sweeney's team, as I said, I felt like we were going to win this ball game. I really, and I'll tell you why I felt like we were going to win this ball game was because the focus that we had in the Notre Dame game. You've heard me talk about this for 2 years now, and for anybody who doesn't know me and some of the controversy that surrounds me as a Clemson fan and my alter ego Bobby Durkins, there's a lot of Clemson fans who don't like me because I've been questioning the hunger that Clemson's had over the past 2 years. And I truly felt like we were going to do really well the other night because there was an intensity they had. Obviously, it didn't happen, but that's the reason I was so confident was on a realistic, non-trash talking sense. I felt like it was going to be a really good game, but I felt like we would win the game. And where we're at now, are we falling off the mountain? No, I don't think so whatsoever. The recruiting class is fantastic. We haven't lost any coaches so far. I mean, we still have an off season. The other night was a great wake-up call that, look, last year we skated by with our secondary and still got blistered. Okay, we can't do this anymore. We've got to pull our secondary together. Our offensive line, we lost a lot last year. I mean, we lost like 4 linemen. But we've got to get better there. I had Tristan Lee. He committed to us this week. That was a big deal. But we just have to revamp. And we're going to have to fix things. But there is nobody who wants to win more at the top than Dabo Swinney in the Clemson fan base and the Clemson community. So I think that more people are wishful thinking that we're falling off. I think that's more of the please let them fall off. Please let them, it's. I would be, hey, it could happen. I just don't see it.
Yeah, that because winning always means that you're going to catch the ire of the majority of the country. And then if you do it in kind of a different way, as Dabo does, he likes to talk and he likes to have his opinion be known, that you've moved from that darling little Clemson team that knocked off Alabama and aren't they cute and we like them and it's nice to see somebody else in there in the mix doing good things, and Dabo's a good guy and he's got a fun-loving way about him, and wow, they got a nice little culture going there too. You're starting to move over to that other side where there's some parts of America starting to hate Clemson a little bit.
Oh yeah, and I had a bunch of Alabama fans reach out to me because I don't have the span that you have. Like you have so many fan bases there at you, but it's how it is. It's kind of like in the moment you get more attention from Bama, Ohio State, according to the time of the season, who you're playing, and so on. And I had a bunch of Bama fans reach out to me publicly and privately and go, yeah, this is what it's like to be a Bama fan. When you lose a game, everybody thinks you're going to win. This is what it's like. And Bama fans, of all people, are the ones telling me, a Clemson fan, as an alter ego, somebody they're not even sure if he's real or if he's a joke, telling me, yeah, y'all ain't going anywhere. Don't let this bother you. And I'm like, well, first of all, it's not bothering me, but at the same time, it is really, really interesting that Clemson went from this as you said, darling little team or something like that. That was, I mean, it seemed like we had no place up there with the big boys, and then we win one. And it's like, wow, this is okay. That's cool. They got theirs, and then they're back in. They lose it. They're back in. They win it, and you become the bad guy overnight. So and Sweeney. A lot of people still ticked about Sweeney and everything. If I was on the outside looking in, I'd probably have some problems with Sweeney. But you see who people would love to have coach their team, whether they admit it or not. If Dabo Swinney came to basically any football program in the country, people would piss their pants. And they may say, I may not approve of everything he says, and I may not be happy with his comments all the time, but my God, have you seen our team? That's what you'd be saying as you pack the stadium and tailgate.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that when he's with the other side, then it's, yeah, this guy's a jerk, this guy's a loudmouth, this guy's annoying, this guy's this or that. But as soon as he becomes one of yours, then, man, you give him a big old hug because, yeah, he can post the W's pretty much like nobody else. Yeah, so everybody, you guys know the deal in the live chat. If you leave your comments, your questions, your debate topics, anything like that, anything that I'm going to pass along to Brian, then we will do that. And I'd like for everybody, once we're done with the live stream, to head over to Brian's channel. So it's just Bobby Durkins. Just look up Bobby Durkins. Check out his post-game analysis of the Ohio State-Clemson game. And by the sound of things, probably pretty much already has, because this thing is taken off.
Yeah, so here's, for those of you who are here and you don't know Bobby Durkins, let's talk for a second. Bobby Durkins is not real. Even though I'm a really Southern guy, I don't talk like this, okay? But, and it's really stupid. It's not for everybody. I've had people tell me before, it's stupid, and my reply is, I know. I know.
And Brian, from my experience of observing this, you may need to explain that a second time to the Florida State fans, because I think they're a little bit slow in getting that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you remember I came on your show and I didn't tell you that I was coming on as Bobby. I just came on and I was eating. I think I was eating Chick-fil-A during the whole thing, but no, I antagonized the whole thing. I congratulated Ohio State for winning, and then I brought up the 6 games because I know that's a hot topic. I talked about Justin Fields not being tough. I brought up so many stuff, and there's so many people who's mad at me right now, and I love every second of it. It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun.
If you just want to see good college football talk and trash talking, go to my Miami channel, folks, and you might have to do a little bit of digging, but I think if you just throw in Clemson, Miami, whatever, preview of some sort, and watch Pigskin Pete and Brian here just rail on Miami for an hour and a half. It's fun stuff.
We keep it clean, but it's like backhanded compliments from time to time, which I think is some of the worst insults you could ever give anyone. It's like, I'm telling you that's the cutest baby I've seen in this area, but I've never told you that that's the cutest baby I've ever seen. So you're sitting there going, in this area, this is a small area. There's not many babies around here. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to be Bobby Durkins, because me and Bobby actually, except for being Clemson fans, and I have a beer or two here from there now and then, me and Bobby are nothing alike. So it's a lot of fun, but there's a lot of people who believes I'm real, and they are losing their minds. So if you really want to raise your blood pressure, please go over there and see it, and you can cuss at me with the other 20,000 of them.
Since we're on the subject of Dabo Swinney, and he sometimes either has to take blame or responsibility or defend the ACC, whether he takes it upon himself or sometimes it's thrust upon him, Lenny the Gump Summers mentioning that the ACC is hot doo-doo. So does this 0-6 bowl record mean anything?
Well, let's ask this question. If Clemson would have lost the other night and the ACC would have won all 5 games, does it really mean anything? Will we still be talking about how that the ACC had improved? Nah, We wouldn't. I get why Swinney takes up for it. I mean, if you're stop being condescending and just trash talking. The ACC has been down for so many years. We started to see it. I think probably the brightest spot in the ACC this year overall was North Carolina. We saw the players opt out. They came out and played Texas A&M, who a lot of people felt like they got left out. And so you see North Carolina with the players that's opted out. Mac Brown didn't make any excuses about it, comes in, plays a very, very good game. It was a really, really good game. So that was a bright spot. But I mean, Swinney and any other coach is going to take up for their conference. I'm not a conference guy. I've said that for a very long time. I understand the arguments on both sides. My team lost the other night. They're done. They're over with. They have nothing to play for until next season. They have nothing but practice and a spring game, God willing, and all that ahead of them. So my team lost. But to answer the question, how do I feel about the ACC going 0-6? It's no big deal. I don't really think about it. It did look bad, but if Clemson won the national championship this year, everybody would have said, "Well, look, the ACC went 1-5, and yeah, they won the national championship, but that's because they're so fresh, because they're playing all these horrible teams." And it's just same old story, different year.
I got to take care of my guy Ronan in the live chat. He's a Miami fan. Ronan, just lets you know, we did a Miami show earlier today. I did not see you there. You're always there. Just want to make sure you don't miss the rewatch there on that, Ronan. Ronan's a great guy, contributes all the time. Awesome stuff from him. We got Brian Knight on the line. Bobby Durkins. Look it up on YouTube. If you're not familiar, you're in for a treat or an annoyance or something. You're not going to be neutral about it. I can almost guarantee that. Yeah,
and that's how I wanted Bobby. When I pulled together the idea and really didn't have a name for it, I won this stupid. You overlook my hair. I've been around the house all day. I did shower, but my hair's messed up. So I won this hat. I'll tell you this real quick for people who wonder. I won this hat. In something I thought I was actually going to win something much nicer. So I was working at a restaurant at the time, and this really nice company. They handle so many. They're a distributor of beers here in the upstate of South Carolina. Beer in South Carolina, and so they're asking all these questions. And man, I answered like one of the hardest questions, right? And they said they had stuff they were going to give away, and I thought it was going to be like one of those microbrewery, hats, something really, really nice. And instead, out of nowhere, they just kind of tossed this to me, and I'm like, this awful Bud Light hat. I don't drink Bud Light. It's nasty. It's awful. And so it sat on my desk in my office for a very, very long time. And so when I decided to go on and be stupid about it and run my mouth and start putting myself on YouTube, I started wearing this hat. And I decided I am going to be clean, but totally different than who I am. And you're going to either absolutely love me or you're going to absolutely hate me and think I'm stupid. And it has, I've stayed true to that. And it's been a lot of fun. And people absolutely either love me or they absolutely hate me.
I had so many people the first time you were on contact me and just they wanted to be smarter than this, but they were like, finally, is that real? Can you, please tell me, I haven't figured it out. So please, can you just tell me? So if I had like a couple dozen people asking me that, I can only imagine what the impact was for those people that wouldn't come out and ask. Good stuff with Brian Knight talking Clemson football. Of course, the Tigers, if you didn't catch it, lost to Ohio State by 21, not 31. So you still have the scoring margin on the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I love how people are coming on here tonight on my channel. I think even a pigeon dropped off something at my front door today that said 4928. I was taking a dump today, got a tweet from a number I don't even know, 4928. It was like, my God, please. My mom called me up, told me that my grandfather's former PIN number, he's deceased, 4928. I'm like, this has got to stop. I mean, this is, no, it's Man, it was really, 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 really rough. But I'm going to stir the pot a little bit here. Let's stir the pot here. Let's go for it. Let's go for it. So let's look at the game. Came out, killed it. Trey Sermon put on a clinic. I said he wasn't J.K. Dobbins. He wasn't, but he came out and still did great things. Olave, we see what he did. We see Justin Fields. Justin Fields did get hurt. I will tell you this. A lot of people
are going to irritate Ohio State fans. It's Olave.
Olave, sorry. Olave. Bobby Durkins will continue to say Olave, just to tick off everybody. But no, and Fields got hurt. And I will tell everybody, I know that Skalski got ejected last year, but I can promise you, I don't know him personally. I really don't think the guy was playing dirty. I just think the guy leans in, he tackles, and sometimes your head goes down. And I know everybody's going to say foul and everything, but if you talk to people in the Clemson community, they'll tell you they know he's not a dirty player. He's actually a pretty laid-back cat. As to where there's other guys, they've done stuff in the past, I'd go, I question them because I've heard a few things about the personality off the field, so you could see them taking a cheap shot. I just think it happened. It was football, and so I hope Fields is not, hurt. That's one thing. I do question if they wanted to beat us so bad, and I don't blame them. I mean, they've had to live with what went on last year. They felt like they were, the game was stole from them from the referees. They feel they're tired of hearing about Trevor Lawrence running ball. Notice he didn't run the ball against them very well at all. They were coming for it. You could tell that was a point of emphasis for them. But with that said, I question if they wanted that game so much that they poured all their energy, all their mind, all their everything into it. And it's like, we knocked these hillbillies back down the mountain. Tell that guy 11th ranked, you just got beat by the 11th ranked team. And it's like, yeah, and they're bumping fists. They're going, we're awesome. We did great things. And then they've got this short, about 5'9", 68, 69-year-old man sitting off over in the corner drinking a bottle of scotch in the shadows going, boys, I've been here before. And he's sitting in Tuscaloosa, and he's watching the entire thing. And I'm going to tell you, man, it's hard to beat Nick Saban when he sees something like that, and he knows it's coming. Now, as soon as I say that, I was wrong about my team coming in and beating Ohio State, and God knows that will probably happen as soon as I say that. So I'm jinxing it, and y'all owe me a thank you. But I am just wondering if because I've seen it happen to Clemson, I've seen it happen to all the great teams. You've seen it happen to the Miamis when they were in really good shape. You've seen it happen to all the big teams. You go out and you beat that team who seems like you just can't get over the hump, and you finally pay them back, and you put all your energy, all your game planning, and focus on this one game. But there's one more game left. So I question that. That is one thing that I question. Will that happen?
Yes, I have thought of that. And before I continue on, Lenny's back in here. And, Brian, we report ourselves here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, to be for the hardcore, for the smart fans. So we're constantly fact checking. I'm catching people all the time. So just want to let you know, Lenny, that I heard that come out of Brian's mouth in regards to Nick Saban not having a national championship at Alabama when they lost to Utah. That was his second season at Bama, but he did technically have a national championship already at LSU. So I did not go into fact-checking mode on Brian.
At least it wasn't a political statement and you were tweeting that out, or else we'd have never, I mean, it wouldn't have never even got out across. Never mind. I'm just having fun there.
So where was I going after this? At what point in the game did you give up hope and figure this isn't going to happen tonight?
So I was schizophrenic the entire time, or bipolar, I guess you would say. There was one side of me that was that. I mean, look at this. Get into the fourth quarter. We see the Buckeye defense. I mean, they did a great job on containing on Trevor. Kept bringing pressure here and there, dropping back at times. I mean, it was fantastic play calling by the DC of OSU. But we had two chances that we could have. We were starting to press the ball, and then everything fell apart. We could have made it 49-42 easily. And we, along with Ohio State's efforts, it just didn't happen. I knew the writing was on the wall when we got to 35-14. At that time, I went, this is not looking good. But I'm a football realist. When you start to go 3 and out and 3 and out and 3 and out, and then you're allowing a running back to just bite off 10 yards here, 12 yards here, 6 yards here, 7 yards here, and then you're hitting. I mean, that one pass to Olave over the top, and Fields overthrew him. And I'm sitting there going, Clemson didn't stop them. An overthrown pass stopped them. And it was at that moment, we just got lucky there. You don't win a game like this off of luck most of the time. And that's when I knew that we were pretty much done for. I held out hope. I watched all the way through the end. I did put together one of my kids' late Christmas presents during it. We got him an easel. So I was like, when I knew the game was pretty much over, I just started putting it together and was like, I'd look up there and, say a few things the Lord wouldn't want me to be saying under my breath, but I said them and just went on with it. But yeah, man, I would probably say when they gave up the third straight touchdown, I went, they're done.
35-14, like you say, felt good for the Buckeyes, especially since Clemson did score that first touchdown. So you're talking about a 35-7 run. But at the same time, as soon as Skowski hit Fields, and man, was he feeling it. And I mean, as a passer, he was feeling it, but then he was really feeling it physically in the ribs after that hit. Just to watch him, I was thinking, oh boy, is this going to be a deal where they got a 21-point lead right now, but are they going to be like giving Trey Sermon like a 45-carry game with a backup quarterback trying to nurse a lead the entire second half? And this is not the team to do that with. This could be really interesting. But for Clemson to come out that first drive of the second half, I believe it was, put a touchdown on the board. It's now 35-21. There's a lot of football left. And I thought, man, Ohio State's really outplayed them. But to only be up 2 touchdowns, and the way it's played now, you know this, 2-3 touchdown lead going into the fourth quarter. Yeah, that's substantial. You should win almost 100% of the time. But it's not like it was 30 years ago. Like, that game's over. Now these teams can score so fast that there's some possibility there of something happening.
Well, I mean, it's according to your talent. It's according to the coaching staff. Clemson's coaching staff, Brent Venables has taken so much flack for what happened in this game, what happened in an LSU game. I expect that from people on the outside. I mean, that's part of the fun of sports. The trash talking is part of the fun of sports, as long as it doesn't go too far, as long as it doesn't get into that, that grimy, nasty, like, okay, you went too far there. But what is really annoying me, and this is along the lines of what you're talking about, is it's getting off the subject, but it's kind of on the same lines. You have the coaching staff that could bring you back in. You have the athletes that could bring you back in, because you saw that quick touchdown. And that's when I kind of scooted up on the edge of my seat and went, maybe. Just maybe, it's 35-21. Clemson looked like Clemson, and we know what happened. But going back to what I was saying, and I want to say this for the Clemson fans that are watching me that has been dogging Venables. As I said, Ohio State fans talking trash about him, I mean, they're supposed to. Bama fans, supposed to. Everybody else is supposed to. Questioning some of the things that are going on in the program, yes. But Brent Venables is the reason that Clemson football has been where it's been, accomplished what it's accomplished, and people are still dying to come play for the guy. And I don't appreciate some of the personnel that's been on the field recently. I do question some of the personnel and some of the positions, and that's something that's commonly running through Clemson right now. But for my Tiger fans who are not drive-by Tiger fans, they're not bandwagon Tiger fans. They're like me, and they've been pulling for Clemson ever since they can remember. And the majority of our time pulling for Clemson has royally sucked up until Sweeney really took over. Lay off the guy. You didn't coach the team to prominence. This cat did. Leave him alone. There's nobody who wants to win more than him. He's being paid ungodly amounts of money to be a winner. And up until recently, he's done amazing. He's still doing amazing. You've just ran into, you have to grow as a coach no matter where you're at. I mean, we've saw Saban change the way he's coached over the past 5 years just on offense and allowing Sarkisian to do what he wanted to do and Kiffin to do what he wanted to do. So I'm really annoyed, not with the outside noise. Right now, I'm annoyed with the inside noise from some of the Clemson community who's starting to look at Venables and scratch their head and go, yes, things do need to be fixed. Yes, they do. But that is my biggest annoyance coming out of this game, is some of the Clemson fans who's questioning, it's like, shut up already, man. I mean, this guy is giving us a dynasty status. Leave him alone. I mean, leave him alone. Now, if he starts to stink it up over the next few years, and I mean, it looks like he's not even trying, okay, we got a conversation. But, I mean, stop. I mean, this is nonsensical, man.
I go to the well with this one from time to time because I just think people need to realize what's going on out there. Somebody has to lose. This is unlike any other profession out there. Take your profession. You can be successful. Other people can be successful. Somebody has to look bad. Somebody has to lose. Both coaching staffs can do a phenomenal job of preparation, adjustments, everything. The athletes can execute. Somebody is going to lose the game, and it's called failure. It's basically you either succeed or you fail. The final score tells us that, and somebody's going to look bad. And right now we've got 3 coaches, 3 coaching staffs, and 3 rosters that are playing out of their minds. And I don't think if that game takes place 10 times that Ohio State wins by an average of 21 points. I don't know what that showed me. It probably showed me that Ohio State is better. But that might be the biggest point spread of the 10 games. Maybe not, but it's certainly on the high end. I can't imagine that it's not on the high end of Clemson and Ohio State playing 10 games.
Sure. I mean, this goes back to hunger too, and I talked about this. I've kicked this horse to death. We do have problems in the secondary, and it's been exposed 2 years in a row. 2 years in a row, it's been exposed. It's been exposed during the regular season, and we've got to get that issue fixed like ASAP. If we had some really, really good safeties back there, and I hate to knock the safeties. I think Nolan Turner has been good for Clemson, but I'm not going to just trash the guy. He's did some good things for us, but we've had questionable safety play. Darion Kendrick got lit up the other night. This guy normally plays great football, even when you're playing really good talent, and the guy's done some great things. He got absolutely smoked the other night. Clemson, I say we because I'm a fan, and a lot of people says we, but for the people who are being technical about it, Clemson.
I'm in the we camp.
Yeah, Clemson has got to pull together their secondary because if you look at all the great teams, the secondary was pretty solid, at least good and solid. Like you had good safety coverage. You had good field generals at safety position who was really paying attention to what was going on. They wasn't getting sucked in by the quarterback anyway, we've got to fix that problem. I think offensive line for us, you lose 4 linemen. I mean, that just happens. That's life. That's the circle of life. But like you said, somebody's got to win. Somebody's got to lose. So you have to look at the problems and you got to fix them. But yeah, this is the only profession where no matter how good, we've seen a lot of great teams lose. You have Ohio State sneaking into the playoffs that one year, as I talked about. Everybody talks about it. That was a monumental moment, with Jones playing quarterback for y'all, third string guy. Everybody says you shouldn't be there. You're playing Nick Saban. Somebody can fact check me on this one, but at that time they were pretty amazing, and you beat them. I mean, you wasn't supposed to. You beat them, and so it's going to happen. I wish my team won. They didn't, but you got to stand. It is what it is.
I got to move on from this comment because I've left it on the screen way too long. But Dr. Love, I will say like having him in the chat because I don't want to double love the comment there. I'm not hearing any excuses here out of Bobby/Brian. None. Well, what do you got going here, Dr. Love? No excuses. I'm not hearing any excuses. That must be the secret formula for Ohio State to be an underdog because 10-point dog to Bama, 7 or 8-point dog to Clemson. They hadn't been that kind of, they were, whatever the game was last year, like a pick 'em, or maybe Clemson was a 2-point favorite, something in that range. I think it was actually the opposite in 16. I think Ohio State was a very slight favorite by like 2 points in that game. So, and an interesting fact about Urban Meyer's stay at Ohio State is as an underdog, which didn't happen a whole lot, but I think 6 times in his 9 years, he never lost a game. He did not lose a game as an underdog. He was 6-0.
I wouldn't doubt that, and I think that's also the next move for our ball club, and I was talking to you about this. I watched you and Pigskin Pete today. Nobody, if you haven't seen that episode from today, Pigskin Pete and Mark, I can't remember the name of the show. Go ahead, Mark. What's the name of the show?
Coast to Coast.
Go watch it. Yeah. It's ridiculously good. I called Pigskin afterwards and I told him, I said, dude, forget that we're friends, forget that we're Clemson fans. Y'all were just talking about football, and of course you talked about the game, but I said that is what sports talk used to be like before it got all crappy. And, somebody had to teach me a lesson about my life while I was trying to sit and, drink a beer and watch sports. I mean, I didn't want that. But, y'all, it was so incredible. But to steal something that he said was Sweeney has been able to play little old Clemson, the Roy Bus, the underdog. Well, now we're not. You see how everybody is celebrating that Clemson lost and they got their tail kicked. It's like you were talking about earlier. You've transitioned. And I think that's where Sweeney will have to grow, and the way that they motivate these guys has to grow because, you've got 5 stars everywhere. You've got 2 national championships. You have 6 consecutive playoff appearances. Then most likely you're going to have a first round or first pick overall your school's ever had. Chance for a Heisman. I really don't see Trevor winning the Heisman, but if he did, that would be the first Heisman trophy. The guy's won so many games. He's did so great, but we're transitioning. We're having to transition as a team, and you can't play we're the underdog anymore. No. So I think that maybe some of that mentality is going to have to change. Maybe that's something that's going on.
You know what that is, Brian, with the discussion that Pigskin Pete and myself had today. That's just like you see with the big shows with Feinbaum and Cowherd. That's the staff of 15 to 20. That's the hours of preparation. That's all the producers running around building all those scripts and giving us all that information. We do the same thing, of course.
Yeah, man, there's a part of me that sounds kind of cool, and there's a part of me, and that just makes my head hurt, and I'm like, do I even know if any of this is true? Am I just regurgitating what a bunch of people's throwing at me? But yeah, I could tell that your teams had really worked on that.
Yes, they do a fine job. It's Brian Knight with us to talk Clemson football. Ousted from the playoffs this year, but they've made it 6 straight times and obviously a mainstay, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So, did you gather anything else from the weekend of football from a Georgia or from a Texas A&M or, the first semifinal game, Notre Dame? Didn't they pretty much just give us, wasn't that game a yawner? Just like, okay, this is, Alabama's not beating them 50-0, but nothing's happening here. Even when Notre Dame on the scoreboard was within contact, that's going to sway anyone in the world that knows anything about football from thinking Alabama's not just cruising home to a win. But to focus, yeah, Georgia, Texas A&M, the Notre Dame performance. Anybody else out there, Oklahoma, that makes you think it would have been nice to have seen maybe that team play?
Well, I'll try to summarize it, because you know me, I can ramble for hours and still say nothing. My wife can attest to that. But Notre Dame, Notre Dame, Alabama watched the game, and I'm sitting there going, even when it started getting a little closer, I was like, yeah, this ain't going to happen. It's like seeing that buddy in high school. He ask out the really hot girl, and she feels sorry for him, goes out on one date with him. But she ain't dating him. She was just being kind. They went out to the pizza place, ate some pizza. She paid for it. You know, it's over with. She did her good deed for her teenage life. She went out with that dorky guy. I was surprised that Alabama didn't pour it on more, because at the beginning it was so bad. I mean, it was just like watching a rec team play Bama, and then they did pull it back together. Notre Dame really couldn't overcome the sins of their first half, but yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I feel like if they would learn up there that you have to recruit more than offensive line and world-class tight ends, maybe they could get somewhere. Because, I mean, their offensive line's fantastic. They have a who's who at tight end, and it's like, hey, guys, have you ever considered expanding your recruiting to other positions? North Carolina showed me a lot. I felt like North Carolina – but North Carolina is at that place now that they've got – to me, it's a dangerous place. If you deliver, it's the promised land. If you don't, oh, man, it could hurt recruiting, though they've recruited very well. But they're at that place to where if they go 8-4 next year, it's going to be like, okay. If they win 10 games next year, 9 or 10 games, they're in good shape. But they're at that place. A&M actually underperformed for me. I felt like for you to have all your stars opt out, basically, for North Carolina, like you're a ton of your offense percentage. I mean, it's right off the top of my head, 60% of your offense, if not more, said, nope, we're not going to do it. We want to go make money on Sundays. Don't blame them, you know. I was surprised that the A&M, to me, that told me A&M shouldn't have been in the playoff. And I know, and I've got some good people who follow me, and I love them to death, but that game proved they should not be in. They would have got torched as well. I mean, my God. Georgia, watched all of that game. I was really pulling for Cincinnati. I really liked the whole Cincinnati thing.
They should have won the game.
They should have won the game. Georgia, Pickens is a freak. You know, Georgia always has some of those just world-class players. And you're like, man, if we can just get a quarterback or whatever. Georgia just looked like, and I'm not taking a slide at this. I'm not being a jerk here. Georgia just looked like Georgia, you know. It just freak. You'll see a freak play here that you're like, oh, my goodness, that guy wasn't even trying. And you barely beat Cincinnati, and you recruit better than Cincinnati. You have a killer tradition versus Cincinnati, you know, and Cincinnati, that will go down as a historical game for them. Georgia, on the other hand, will be sitting there going, yep, we almost lost to them. Yeah. And so I can't really say anything other than that Georgia has the same problem that Georgia has every year. They're this close and they stay there. And my stomach, the lining would be totally ate out of it with ulcers if I was a Georgia fan. I seriously don't know how they do it. I mean, that's pretty rough.
And the opt-outs were not egregious. They were not Florida-level opt-outs. They were hurt by some opt-outs, but not substantial players. And Cincinnati actually was missing one of their better players in the secondary during that game. And I just thought that they should have won the game. They certainly messed up in regards to play calling and clock management late in that game, which sets us up for game 1 of 2021. When you're looking at Georgia and Clemson, nothing's going to, unless it's a 42-0 game, nothing's going to leave me. And I know I'm kind of in a different category of how I view this stuff and process it. I'm a little too analytical and just don't jump off the rails. But, you know, if they play a 34-31 kind of game, I'm not going to be like, well, Georgia's always blowing it against the better teams, and so they lost this game. They're done for the season. Write them off. Or Clemson, oh well, they just lost to Ohio State, and now they lost 2 straight games for the first time in eternity. But the loser of that game, there's going to be some angst there from the fan base.
We're the 2 closest schools to each other that is major contenders in college football to each other. So of course, technically, we're about the same distance to them as we are to South Carolina, somewhere in there at the University of South Carolina. They're a little closer to Georgia Tech than we are. But we're as I said, the qualifier, 2 major college football programs. They're the closest to each other for each school that are contenders. Recruit a lot of the same players. I mean, we got a who's who out of the state of Georgia. Trust me, that puts a real nice taste in their mouth when you think that Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson play for us and not them, and that created problems definitely for Rick, especially with Deshaun Watson and other players that we got out of there. This game is a game that should go on every year. If you talk to any good Georgia fan, you talk to any good Clemson fan, they'll tell you that this game should go on every year. There's no reason why it shouldn't. Even when we're bad, even when both teams are maybe not what they should be, it's still an exciting game. And so I'm looking forward to it. The thing with this game, and I really want to look over the rosters, and of course I know who I'm pulling for. I believe we definitely can win the game. But you're right. We've been anticipating this game for a while. Georgia fans have been anticipating this game and telling us that if we would have played then, that would be another loss in the column, and that we got out easy with the ACC. And then if we beat them, it's going to be like, well, I mean, we beat you, and are you having another down season? We can trade off all we want to, but it's going to be a classic game that it's played early in the season. I think it could be quite nice if both teams ends up being really, really good and, ends up having to meet again later on. So I'm just glad that we're playing Georgia again. And as I said, any good Georgia fan, they'll tell you the same thing, because it is just dog sense that we're not playing.
I want to remind everyone that we're live here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, based on your individual contributions. So we appreciate those. And also, if you can find a sponsor for us or have direct, it's that spaghetti, any direct contact with a possible sponsor, just hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. So we got Nick Prost on the line. Refs screwed Lawrence and Clemson for that fumble when he was clearly downing the football. Took away any shot they had at winning.
Well, Nick, I appreciate you supporting the channel. It was frustrating for me. And when I was watching that replay and I saw his hand on the ball, the fan in me was going, he's down, he's down, he's down. But unfortunately, I used to officiate football as well, and I knew that ball was going to Ohio State, because that wasn't going to constitute control. And so Clemson hurt themselves a whole lot more the other night than just that one play. I just think that one play it's one of the many summaries of a frustrating night that we had against a team who had it out for us. They had our number when it come to coaching, and their quarterback, their running back, their team wanted it more, and that's just unfortunately how the cookie crumbles. But I feel your pain, brother.
There was so much discussion on social media following the game and then the next day about the playoff. And the playoff and the format of the playoff is always under discussion, but I had never seen it ever before in the framework of people proposing playoff systems to break up Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State. That seemed to be the thrust of the conversation. We need to do this. We need to do that to break up those three. It's usually because I'm proposing this because this is a better way to do it. This is a more equitable way. This is a more fair way, or whatever, not because we have this aim to break up this triumvirate.
This makes me need to go take some medicine. we talk about this time of season, especially over the past 3 years since these teams are just so common. Oklahoma is another one to throw in there that we've seen a lot of, seen them in it a lot. But with that said, I don't think you're going to get a different outcome. Ohio State the other night, I do think the other night Ohio State could pretty much beat anybody they wanted to at that time, with the caveat that I believe that they really had it in for Clemson, and they were really pissed at them, and that can drive you. But that's also what went back to my earlier comments when I said, did they exhaust themselves? Did they put everything into it? With that said, that's not the question here. Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson. I mean, so if you go to an 18 playoff, which I am totally for, I want to play an 18 playoff, no more, no less. Five Power 5 conferences, okay, and you have your 3 slots for an at large, okay. That would have worked out great this year. Here's the deal: we would still have those 3 teams at the top, even though Clemson got blown out the other night by Ohio State. If Clemson played Texas A&M the other night, they'd have beat them. If Clemson would have played Oklahoma, I know Oklahoma went out there and beat Florida, and I know Dan Mullen made a really rear end out of himself. But so if you're going to take the game, we're not going to make excuses, and I agree with that 100%. So I'm not taking up for Dan. That's not what I'm talking about. But did he field Florida football? No, he didn't. Pitts did not play the other night. I could go down a list. It's like I'm reading off the 12 disciples of Florida football team. Did not play the other night. So though Oklahoma did look good, and I do believe that Oklahoma has got significantly better than what they did in the beginning of the season, I believe Clemson could have beat them. I believe Oklahoma would have definitely, or Ohio State would have definitely beat them. Alabama would have definitely beat them. Throw in Cincinnati, throw in Georgia. I don't know what people think that they're proposing, that out of nowhere this wild ace is going to slip into the bunch, and it's like, ha, we broke it up, and it's like, there's 3 of us right now. You might get 1, but are you going to get? No, you're not going to get all 3. And so I think that once again, it's wishful thinking. It's wishful thinking that if you will expand this thing to 8, 10, 16 teams, somebody is going to. I loved the Coastal Carolina story this year. And I mean, they're 4 hours from where I'm at. I'm in the upstate of South Carolina. They're down on the coast. But I love that story. So many people love that story. And there's so many good things about it. But you know what? They got into their bowl game. They lost. They lost their bowl game. Now, is Liberty a good football team? That's a good story too. Yeah. But would you want to see Liberty or Coastal Carolina have to play Clemson, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Bama? No, I wouldn't. And that's just it. So I like the comment there from Jamie Oldman. Blame that on your loudmouth coach. Well, here's the deal. Saban says nothing. So what's going to motivate you now if it just takes a smart mouth coach? I mean, he says nothing. I mean, that's what I'm coming back to. Ohio State was truly motivated by his statements. What are they motivated by, Nick Saban, other than the national championship? Because Clemson was motivated by that the other night. So
I got to think that Ohio State's going to be aided by the extra time that these teams have between the semifinal game and the national championship game. Because let's say if this was like a Saturday to Saturday deal, like during the regular season, to lay it all out on the line, put everything out there to your point, and then have to do it 6.5 days later could be a lot to ask. But the rest in recovery, and to be able for Ryan Day to probably, I'm thinking, just let them celebrate and just rest for a day or two and then come back and say, next mission, got to refocus, that they might be able to pull that off. But yeah, they exhausted a lot out there. There's no question about that. A little bit more than Bama had to against Notre Dame.
Just a little more. Just a little more, right?
Yeah, I knew Notre Dame was in trouble when the focus, I heard this come out of my own mouth, and I heard it about 12 other times from other folks online and on the traditional networks, when there was, the question was always, what does Notre Dame have to do, or what can they possibly do to win this game? The focus was always, well, they've got some nice matchups at tight end where they can maybe make some plays. And it's like, okay, if you're going to the tight end position as your ace in the hole for changing a game, I don't think that's going to do it.
I heard that in the game. That was said in the game. This Mayer or Myers, it was Mayer, I think it is, the freshman. Yeah. I mean, he's super. I mean, he's one of those Notre Dame tight ends that are just
in the NFL. Sure.
He'll go in the NFL and he'll do amazing things. And I'm sitting there going, yep, that's how you know you're in trouble. Is when your tight end is that's your money ticket right there. No.
It's going to take a lot of 12-yard receptions to turn the game around out of that tight end.
Unless the ground opens up and swallows the team, and then he's just running out there all by himself. That's not going to happen. So, and I mean, I tell you this, man, on one of the well-known college shows on Saturday morning, Brian Kelly being interviewed. And, I mean, they were trying to be nice about it, but it was obvious. They were going, you don't have a chance. And I saw him in the interview. They had barely told him bye, and he had already turned his seat like this and was getting up. And I was like, yep. That's how you know that you're done. You don't want to hear it anymore. But you go out there, and, I mean, he's done a good job there. But I have said this for a couple of years now. Kelly has hit his ceiling. There's no more with Kelly that you can do. You see the recruiting style that he has, but then again, you turn around and you say, if you let him go, you're going to let him go because you just got to the playoffs. You can't do that. And then who the heck are you going to hire? I mean, it would have to be an Urban Meyer that comes in. It would have to be a Sweeney. It would have to be somebody like that to come in and take that position, because other than that, who are you going to hire? Somebody that's unproven. At least you know you can get to the playoffs. Now, God knows you're going to get your head chopped off, but you're going to make it to the playoffs. So I think probably Notre Dame is in probably one of the most unique situations when it comes to football, because they've hit a good ceiling. It's not a bad ceiling. There's a lot of football teams that would die to have the ceiling that they're at right now. But I just don't see a national championship coming out of them anytime soon.
I don't either. And, they're not going to let him go. Maybe he'll go somewhere because he's done at Notre Dame and done just fielding the questions. But, you can see the scowl on his face. And I get it. He probably doesn't have any other answers. He's probably thinking, I've upgraded this program. I'm recruiting my tail off. I'm doing everything I possibly can, and we're really good. But there's 3 teams that have that gap on us, and he probably doesn't have any answers.
I mean, and that's why us Clemson fans got ill after Notre Dame beat us. And then there was talk mentioning, so your 2 quarterbacks you always hear about in college football right now and over the past couple of years, except for Tua, was Fields and Lawrence. That's it. Fields and Lawrence. Well, all of a sudden, Book comes out and beats a Clemson team. Hey, you have to show up. But I've said this before. Our team showed up. Half of them showed up in an ambulance. And they're out there on the stretchers, on the gurneys, watching the game with their legs kicked up in a cast, watching Notre Dame beat us. All of a sudden, Ian Book is being named with Fields and Lawrence. Now, he's not a bad athlete. He's not a bad quarterback, okay? But you're taking a massive jump from who and what you are to Fields and Lawrence. I mean, we're talking about 2 guys first draft picks. People's been salivating over them since they got out of high school. And then what ticked off a lot of Clemson fans was during the Clemson-Virginia Tech game, Ian Book was interviewed for like 10 minutes during the game, and they asked him what he thought about Trevor Lawrence. And even I was sitting there going, okay, this is getting kind of crazy. I mean, this is getting nuts. I mean, why are you asking him what he thinks about him? And then they come out and they get their head tore off by Bama, and we beat the crap out of them in the ACC championship. I just don't get where Notre Dame is going. Djokovic, that's at Boston College. They lost him, and a lot of people says, well, he lost out to Ian Book. I'll tell you this, man, I'd rather have Djokovic playing for me than I would Ian Book. I mean, I really would. I don't care if he is at Boston College, and I don't care if he got beat out for a reason. Djokovic, to me, would be a gamer. But I don't know where Notre Dame is going. I don't get it, but I definitely think this is as high as it's going to get because we've seen this. I mean, my God, we saw this, in 2012? They went in and played Bama, and Bama, just massacred them. And aside from Brent Musburger talking about A.J. McCarron's girlfriend, that was the only other more exciting thing. And then here's me taking the gloves off here for a second, Mark. You might have to edit this one out. But for those, it won't be too bad. I mean, it won't violate most community guidelines, but maybe a few. But I mean, I think I talked about this last time I was on here. So everybody gets mad at Musburger. He's talking about this woman, okay? Now, I know it was kind of old mandish, but I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. I've seen through the years, even when Clemson was sucky, some of the girls these guys were dating. These guys that if I pulled my shoe off right now, the bottom of my foot looks better than them. But because they played at Clemson, they're dating them. If they would have walked up to them on the street and said, go out with me, they would have said, blankety blank, get away from me. It would have been horrible. And then they go, yeah, I could be a second round pick. I love you. You want to move in together? Let's get married. That's all Musburger was saying. Because at the end of the day, A.J. McCarron, even though he won championships there, or championship or two, somebody fact check me, at Alabama, yeah, two. He won A.J. McCarron won 2 national championships. Think about that. I mean, the talent was world class around him. But he's right. That's what you get when you go play quarterback for Alabama. And then all of a sudden, he becomes only second to Mussolini and Stalin. He's up there in that category. And we need to get rid of the old man, But that's the only interesting thing that happened that night when Notre Dame and Alabama played. That was the only other interesting thing. And I think with Kelly, they stuck with him through that 4-8 season. I mean, my God, they just fired Tom Herman. And yes, it's Texas, but he won his bowl game. But I don't know. I don't know how that's going to turn out. That's going to be interesting because Sarkisian, do you remember when he played quarterback at BYU?
Yeah.
Do you remember? You remember it was the first game of the season. I think he was a senior at BYU. First game of the season, I want to say it was against Texas A&M, and he threw for 500 and something yards. I remember it. It was on ABC. Go check it out.
Okay.
Guy was
against BYU or against Texas A&M.
Yeah, guy was an incredible quarterback. I felt like he was going to do better at Washington. He didn't. We know what happened when Pat Hayden ran down there on the field, during the Southern Cal game, and everybody got mad because they said Sarkisian was drunk on the sideline, and I'm beginning to wonder if Pat Hayden was drunk for coming out of his booth and coming down there on the field to talk to the referee. But anyway, we saw how that happened. Do I think that people grow and people learn their lesson? And it's, yes. But I was surprised that Sarkisian got the job at Texas because, to me, basically what you're doing is what you just got out of. I thought Tom Herman was a really good coach. And you know what? He could be a great OC somewhere and make more money than all of us put together times 10. But I just didn't see that move. I was kind of shocked by it.
I didn't see it either. You would think Tom Herman, not tearing it up by any stretch, may have a make or break year. That's what I expected in 2021, that you keep him around unless there's that gold standard out there. Urban Meyer has made himself available to Texas. So, that type of hire. Otherwise, Sarkisian, yeah, 2 big programs, Washington, USC. His successors and his predecessors at those jobs did better than he did. He barely was 500 at those 2 jobs. He was okay. It wasn't a disaster, but it was marginal. Okay. He had the off the field issues, which I am all for. Second chances, third chances, fourth chances. Have no issue with that part of it. But I don't know if it's schools believing that Nick Saban sprinkles on some fairy dust and then these coaches can now become Nick Saban at their school. I don't know if that's it, because it's even difficult to evaluate him as an offensive coordinator. They're just so talented. Is he doing anything that's that special as an offensive coordinator at Alabama? I don't get it. I don't see it. And I'm not saying that he won't succeed at Texas. I'm just saying I don't understand the hire. I don't understand that it's so obvious that he should be coaching the head coach at Texas. He doesn't have the track record for it.
That's it, because if you name out the who's who jobs in the country historically, and Clemson fans are once again get mad at me, but I really don't care. It would not include Clemson historically. Who's who job? Who's who job, in my opinion, is Bama, Miami, Florida State, Texas, Southern Cal, Ohio State, Michigan. Even though Michigan has sucked for the past few years, those are. And I know I left out a few people, and I can't believe that you didn't mention this other team. But I'm just saying, those. I mean, you really think about that. The Southern Cal. It's just outrageous. And I just don't get the hire. That is a job that you could, if Nick Saban or Urban Meyer or Dabo Swinney took over Texas tomorrow, oh my God, it would just be, people's heads would start exploding. If they took over Miami tomorrow, Southern Cal, went down to Florida State and kicked their, the people who's over their athletic department out and told everybody to, go kick rocks. That's decided not to get behind the football program. They would just be steamrolling people within the next few years, and it would be crazy. This is what you hear me rant and rave about all the time: hires that don't make sense. And then the point you made to me really is to the big asterisk. We've seen so many of these guys leave Alabama and go out head coach, and they do okay jobs. They do a good job, not a bad job. Other people will be very happy with the job they did. But when they have to go head to head with the old man, he just lifts his leg and craps on them. And it's just like, nobody can beat him. No matter who they have, they can't beat him. And the talent that Saban's brought in. Imagine if he threw the playbook at you and said, "Hey, I want you to call offense for me." You would have to try really hard to mess it up. You really would. Oh, let me see. I'm going to throw a bomb to Devontae Smith. Well, that sounds like a winner. Guys, it's 2nd down and 4. I got a brilliant idea. What is it, Coach? We're going to do an off tackle to Najee Harris. We're going to do a sweep to the wide side of the field with Najee Harris. And Waddle, he comes out there. The Lord's healed him. He's okay. Guess what? We're going to throw a bomb to him too. How good are you really? Because you're living in a culture that has been created by arguably the best coach to ever coach college football and one of the greatest football coaches overall. Now, I know he went to the NFL, he stunk it up. And, one guy from the NFL said, "I don't even know if he has a soul," which I think was hilarious. But coming from a bunch of entitled guys who thinks the world's against them, and to hear them say that about him, it just lets you know the guy doesn't have time for bull crap. He's there to win, and that's it. Period. And so he's built this machine, and Sarkisian is just one of the guys in the machine. And now he's going to go over to Texas, and it's like a really intricate math problem. You change one variable, you change one exponent, you're done. The entire thing falls apart, and that's how Alabama's built. That's how Clemson's built, even though I know what happened the other night. That's why they've had the success they've had. And if Ryan Day keeps doing what he's doing, that's how Ohio State has been built, as much as I want to throw up saying that at this moment. But it really is, and you're going to pay. I hadn't even seen what's his contract. Do you know what his contract is?
His contract is. That's a good question. It's in the 3 to 4 year range.
Yeah, but do you know the
Oh, how
dollar
much
amount
money
on
he's
it?
making?
Yeah.
I don't. I think it's nowhere near that Harbaugh, Dabo Sweeney, Saban. It's 4.5 or 5. It's not 7.
Just only 4.5 for 5.
Well, they want to see him do something. Got to prove
Yeah.
it first.
But you know what? That's what I think we should be doing. And I've talked about this on the show 100 times. And I told you I was only going to go to 8 o'clock, and it's 8:21. So there I go. I do it all the time. But no, I'm glad that they backed off from the contract because I think some of these coaches need to prove themselves, really need to prove themselves. But I just don't get the hire. It doesn't make sense.
Did somebody Google that for us? So we've got somebody chiming in with 5 mil. I don't know if that was looked up by anyone. So as a Clemson fan coming up on Monday night, do you care? Are you rooting?
Well.
You tell us.
I'm going to be pulling for Nick Saban.
Because he's Nick Saban and he just hasn't won enough?
I want
Doesn't need
revenge.
anyone rooting for him.
Since I can't. I think that's the thing with him. He doesn't want anybody rooting for him. Nobody. Like his wife's in the corner. Good job. Shut up, woman. Don't pull for me. I don't need it. I need good strategy. No. I'll be pulling for him. I'll be pulling for them. There is a love-hate relationship, respect relationship between Clemson and Alabama because if you look at it, we've been going at it for so long between each other. Only next one in line would be us and Ohio State. And so this one's fresh. If Bama would have beat us the other night and they were having to play Ohio State, I'd probably be saying Ohio State. But, I'm really bitter right now. I'm really upset. I need to go take my meds, and I'm going to be pulling for Alabama.
We got to Vinay telling us that Ryan Day will make $6.5 million next year and $7 million the year after. Other people are saying it's $5 million a year.
What is? Here's a question for you, and I think I know this. And somebody Google how much Brian Kelly at Notre Dame makes because I think he only makes like 1.5, 1.3 or 1.5.
I have seen this. Now there has to be something to that. Doesn't there?
Because I want you to think about this. This guy's been there, 10 or 11 seasons. He has got to the national championship once, college football playoff twice. And if I was him, I would be looking for another job because, they're dishing out $2 and $3 million to, guys going to, some schools that doesn't have near the history that Notre Dame has.
When Oregon State let Gary Anderson go a few years ago because he got into some off the field issues and they of course weren't winning, I was shocked that he was making over $3 million a year at Oregon State.
Gary Anderson was a weird situation. It was wasn't it like he was coaching somewhere one season and then he was coaching somewhere else the next season and then he wasn't coaching anymore. It was like something odd like that. It was really odd.
He was at Utah State. That's where he cut his teeth and gained a little bit of a name, won big there. Then he went to Oregon State. Then he got the Wisconsin job, which of course is a natural upgrade. You go to Wisconsin. He had a nice season, a typical Wisconsin season, but he left. Then he went back to Oregon State, and then he got into some trouble there, which is kind of odd to go back to where you had been, but suddenly you're causing issues. So, yeah, he had a kind of a strange go.
I've heard murmurs that it seems like Alvarez is somebody who's hard to work for, hard to be around because, he's like Big Papa, and he probably always reminds you that he was probably the most successful, if not the most successful coach that they ever had, and he's the AD. I imagine that could be quite irritating. But yeah, that was a weird situation. But hey, I'm pulling for Bama. I didn't say that I like it. I'd rather be pulling for Clemson in this one. But if it's, I know y'all don't care, but as I said, Had Bama just beat us, I'd probably be pulling for Ohio State. So there we go.
There it is. Brian Knight, a.k.a. Bobby Durkins, right here on YouTube.
Yep. That's all we have to do. Give that demented look. Thanks for having me on, man. Happy New Year to you. It's always a pleasure to be on your show. It's you got great people. Everybody, if you have not hit that like button, you got to do it. Not because of me, because I suck. He's great. Hit the button. Tell everybody, because I'm telling you, for a true college football fan who's had to mute my TV the majority of this year because I'm like, you're not even talking about football anymore. You are where it's at, and I appreciate what you're doing for the football community.
Hey, Brian, thank you so much. You make it happen here. Thank you so much for accepting the offer. All right, Brian, you have a great night, great rest of your week, and think about who you're rooting for next Monday night. Give that some thought.
If anybody who will make me give consideration to it, it will be you.
We'll see.
Take care, buddy.
All righty. All right, Brian Knight, a.k.a. again, Bobby Durkins. Bobby Durkins right here on YouTube. I have somewhere to go at 8:30 myself. I've got to take a little phone call, but should we get back together tonight to take some calls from you? I guess we should. We've got around 450 on the line, so why don't we take advantage of that? But again, I've got an appointment at 8:30. I will be sending out a notification for a call-in show a little bit later tonight. So I appreciate everybody jumping online. We've had some great live shows today with Pigskin Pete there at noon with about 500 online, and then here with Brian Knight. So thank you so much, everyone, for your support. It's been amazing, especially the last few days. We've really pulled in some nice numbers. So thank you. Share these videos on social media. And of course, subscribe and hit that like button as well. We will see you soon. I'm going to send out the notification here when I figure out what the rest of my evening looks like. See you soon.